Hello, again, this is Eric Slimp and Kayla Slimp. We're with the MD Buyline division of Track Manager. So we've been talking today about purchase services sourcing and how we're able to work with a lot of our members to ease some of the burden associated with sourcing purchase services. But in this last segment, we're going to talk about GPOs and the role that they play in this space. I think it's important for us to address some of the strengths that GPOs have in helping hospitals with purchase services, and then some of the shortcomings that they have compared to the services that we offer. So, Kayla, in general, what are some categories or what are some things that GPOs tend to be really good at in purchase services?
I think the most common things that we see that come through on GPO paper for our analysis are things like surgical instrument repair or reference lab. And the reason for that is these are categories that are what I like to call highly skewable categories. And what that essentially means is that each test or each service has a specific code that it's linked to. So no matter what hospital you are, that test is that test is that test. So there's not really a differentiation or a hospital-specific scope of work for those types of categories. So that allows the GPO to come in and provide rates for those services that are standardized no matter which hospital you are. You might see some variation based on your tier of usage, but other than that, it's pretty much a handed out contract with all the services listed out for you.
Right, and so skewable, you're actually going to make up a word here for our professional video. Thank you. So I'll just go ahead and use it. So there are some services that are less skewable than others that GPOs will tend to avoid in some cases. So, for example, a GPO is not going to deal with your landscaping contract from a local service provider. It doesn't make sense for them to deal in that space. There's not enough service volume flowing through any single service provider. There's not really a way for them to write up one contract that's going to work for a number of different health systems. So they're going to stay out of those types of spaces, or specific IT consulting type contracts, or just consulting in general. It's hard to write one contract that's going to work for a lot of different health systems. And then also it's important to understand that they leave you with a contract at the end, whereas working with MD Buyline, we leave you with the knowledge on categories that allows you to do your job more effectively.
And as I pointed out, we do still see a lot of purchase services contracts that come through on those GPO contracts. And they can really help you get your foot in the door, especially I've seen reference lab contracts with 60 pages of contracted rates. So if you don't want to negotiate 60 times 40 different times for those different tests, you're able to get your foot in the door with that GPO contract. But then once you know what your utilization is and we can look at what the rates are for the test that you're actually using, we routinely identify significant savings over and above the GPO. So I can think of a hospital we worked with on their reference lab contract out of Maryland. So they were using one of the huge national players, and they had their GPO contract in place at their specific tier, and they believed it was a very competitive and very robust contract. And as we identified it, they almost laughed at us the first time we sent an analysis back to them, because we had identified 35% in additional savings on top of what the GPO was already giving them. And after they went back a few different rounds with the vendor negotiating, they were able to achieve everything that we recommended, and that was $3 million in annual savings off of one contract. So the GPO got them started, but we were actually able to help them get even more competitive rates through our benchmarking process.
Yeah, and I think it's important when you're building competitive leverage in purchase services to consider all of the options that you have available. So you talked about a large service provider that's a national service provider, but in some cases we may recommend a regional service provider or a local service provider instead of a national service provider, because that may be the best fit for your health system. So we don't contract with vendors in the way that GPOs do, so we are not going to limit the decision to just the vendors that happen to have contracts on GPO paper.
And so I really hope that this helps you understand how we're different from GPOs and how they might be offering you some value, but how we can carry you even further And if that's something that interests you, if there's anything else we talked about, or any specific ways that you want to talk to us about purchase services and how you can simplify your purchase services, we hope you'll reach out. Our contact info will be here below. And additionally, if you'd like to keep updated on our personal lives, we're both very active on Instagram. I post a lot of craft coffee, latte art, and then Eric will hopefully be posting photos soon of my future niece or nephew. So if you want to keep posted on his growing family, you can find him on Instagram. Thanks so much.